distance between the coils. Well, who knows? I mean, you're not, the distance between the coils has to start with that much distance to start with. So I don't know how you're doing this experiment. But anyway, we've already seen the so if this is going to the dispar video, I mean, obviously his springs were all turned this way. They're all can't. Okay, so for some dopey reason, yeah, the video stopped playing. I mean, the stream stopped. So I don't know what the issue was. So I guess I have to go back. It's a good conversation about the spring thing. So somewhere around this rubber band part here, somewhere around in here somewhere, is where I left off, I guess. But yeah, that's kind of irritating. I don't know when the stream stopped streaming. And so I don't know. I guess this is a new chat. I'm not sure. I guess I should open a new one. Yeah, it's weird. I don't know what happened. I didn't turn it off. I didn't do anything. So it's just more bullshit from... Well, once in a while you got to put up with some sort of crap. So this is the crap you have to put up with once in a while. Kind of inconvenient. I mean, I had like 15 people in the room. It was doing okay for a change. So it is kind of annoying to have lost the room. Stream key, default stream. Yeah, well, I don't think I'm supposed to do anything else here. Yeah, damn it. I guess it just... yeah, I guess it just wiped out everything. So that sucks. Alright, so I guess we'll just play the video from some point here, maybe the gate. But anyway. Oh, yeah, we did that part, I'm sure. And I'm not sure. It used up the entire impulse of the object, got its zero momentum, and then the spring's compression, expansion, is going to release that energy. But that's what has to happen, is first you have to store the energy and then release the energy. You can't avoid the storage process. The compression is the storage. This doesn't move. This doesn't move until it expands. All right. I think that was clear enough. Yeah, not perfect, but clear enough. All right, I'll put this back. All right, applied to the spring. The orange, so we have orange and pink for whatever reason. 5 mass block must experience equal push in the opposite direction. So it doesn't experience an equal push until after the spring expands again. The spring has to release the energy for there to be an equal push by the spring. This results in the pink block losing velocity at the same rate that the orange box gains velocity. So that's what I'm saying isn't true. That's true on a lever. So if you're playing with a lever, you can't alter how fast one side moves and the other side moves because it's a rigid stick. But the spring isn't a lever. It's storing energy. Levers don't store energy. They just directly convert it. Springs store it first and then can convert it. You can store the energy and then shoot a light object. You can do lots of things with springs. You can store the energy for 10 years and then release it. But they're storage devices. Very different. Anyway, at some point, both objects must have equal velocities of 5v. Now, that's the lie. No, there's no such point. Okay, so your say so. I'm saying that's completely incorrect. There's never any point where both of them have a velocity of 5. Doesn't happen. During this process, the spring compresses because the initial velocity difference between the blocks. Now, you want to consider it an initial velocity difference. That's fine. Obviously, they have a component of their vector that is different, and the spring, again, is going to store that difference. Some portion of the difference the spring is going to store. So if it's an impulse, then it has to store the entire difference, and then it releases it. The disappeared kinetic energy is now in the compressed spring. So that's a complete made-up canard. There's no disappeared kinetic energy when they both have the same mass. So I don't even know what you're talking about. That doesn't make any sense to me at all. What disappeared? You're saying there's mv and you're squaring the v, and you're using the same exact mass as shooting off the other side. Well, it's the same squared v. Where's your disappeared kinetic energy? So what are you even talking about? Doesn't make any sense to me. All right, anyway. This is silly, yeah. If you don't believe this is the case, yeah, I don't believe, okay, that if the one block is moving, it hits the spring compresses, and then the other object moves, that at any point both objects were going 5v. I certainly don't believe that. And the argument is that for any energy absorbed by the spring can't possibly have been transferred the way you're saying. Now the whole spring could move, and the motion could be directly transferred by the motion of the spring. So you do see a little bit of that, I would argue. So when you do hit springs, the whole thing does jiggle a little. So that's why they don't put springs on like a Newton's cradle, is because it does throw it off, frankly. All right, I guess you have to sink to drafts level and deny how springs in series work. So again, this is a whole argument about how springs in series work. I don't know how you can change this into whatever you're perverting it into. I'm claiming how weight works. I mean, when you put a weight on something, you can only collect its weight. You can't multiply its weight. It can only weigh. If I put 10 pounds on something, I can only put 10 pounds of force on the something I put it on. If I put 10 pounds on a table, it's only 10 pounds. I can't make it 50 pounds by putting tables on top of tables. I mean, if I put another table on top of the table on top of the table, I can't make the 10 pounds more than 10 pounds. And the tables will start adding up, but the 10 pounds can't add up. And actually claim it has never been tested. Well, I claim not by anybody credible. Are you going to say it? Yes, I'm going to say it. Yes, you don't have any experiments from physics. Okay, so you can't show me a physicist, a professor. You can't show me a laboratory experiment. You can't show me any experiment where they, in any way, demonstrate that if I put 10 springs in series, that I can collect 10 pounds in each spring. That each spring will have 10 pounds of pressure in it. So I can have, for 10 springs, I could end up with 100 pounds of pressure just using 10 pounds of weight. I can't do that. Are you going to say the experiment of putting 2 springs in series has not been done? Well, go ahead, link to it. That's what the whole thing. We're begging for you to show us your credible evidence of something. Now, the only thing I've seen linked is experiments where measurements are fluffy. There's no real science here. And they certainly haven't, and they've been doing it with springs hung from each other by, loops in the wire. They're not really connected to each other, in terms of springs being, clamped to each other. So, but anyway, I mean, they're, like I said, they're arguing that somehow, like I said, if I put 10 springs on top of each other, and then I put 10 pounds on top, and the springs compress, what do I have in compression in this 10 springs? I can only have 10 pounds. If I lock that 10 pounds and I just take the 10 pounds off and I lock that spring and I turn it sideways, what's it going to do? It can only push with 10 pounds of pressure. That's all it can push with, because that's all it has. There was only 10 pounds of weight on it. It's only been compressed by 10 pounds. It can only have 10 pounds of weight in it. It can only give back 10 pounds of force. It can't give back any more than that. Anyway, let's continue. According to Gary, let's see. Also, let's say let's say you add 10 springs in series, and each spring has a total uncompressed length of 5 centimeters. So, whatever. Obviously, this experiment wasn't done by anybody. Yeah, the 5 centimeter springs. According to Gary, 2 springs in series must produce twice as much distance between the coils. So I don't know what he's saying there, but that's just, frankly, nonsense. I'm saying it's half the distance between... Yeah, the coils would be twice as far apart. So if I have one spring, that one spring has to collect all of the 10 pounds. If I have 2 springs, then they're going to share the 10 pounds. And so one of them's going to compress and the other one's going to compress, but they're going to compress half as much each. So the distance between the coils will be twice as far, because it's they're sharing the weight. All right, it should be 10x as much distance between the coils. So I don't know what this 10x thing is. So I assume that with 10 springs in series, it should be 10x as much distance between the coils. Well, who knows? I mean, you're not... you know, the distance between the coils has to start with that much distance to start with. So I don't know how you're doing this experiment, but anyway, we've already seen the so if this is going to the dispar video, I mean, obviously his springs were all turned this way. They're all canted. They're not connected in a straight line. So they're obviously not compressing evenly. They're you know, if I push on one side of a spring, I did have a spring here. Where the hell is it? I mean, if I compress on one side of a spring, it's a lot less force to compress it than if I compress it straight across the whole spring. You know, the spring is looped. If I only push on one side of the spring, it's a lot more springy. You know, it's a lot easier to push than if I push both coils, both sides. So that was an obvious defect in his shitty experiment. Let's see if that's where he's going. It should be 10x as much distance between the coils. Now, if that were true, the distance between the coils would have to be larger than when they were relaxed, uncompressed states. Well, it says you. Like I said, it says you by what measurements, who's done whatever these measurements are, so fuck you. I'm saying 10 pounds weighs 10 pounds. 10 springs can't collect 100 pounds of pressure. They can't do it. Okay, so in fact, the springs would have to expand beyond their relaxed, uncompressed height. The simple argument is whatever you compress, it has weight in it. And then you turn it sideways, and what can it push? And my argument is one spring with 10 pounds on it will push the same amount as 10 springs with 10 pounds in it. The 10-pound weight with 10 springs is this. I turn it sideways. It will produce the same motion as one spring turned sideways. Same thing, because exactly the same weight went into the spring. So if you have some counter argument to that statement, show it to me. Okay, show me some evidence of that. Or otherwise, just keep talking shit that I don't have to respond to because you're not making my argument. You're not arguing what I'm saying. You're arguing some other kind of bullshit. Now, that certainly doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Well, I'm saying what doesn't make any sense is you saying that I can put 10 pounds on a series of springs and that somehow each one will have 10 pounds of force in it. And somehow I'll be able to push something a lot further because I've collected so much more force. That I'm saying, go ahead and show me. I mean, it's just a fact that if I do put 10 pounds on one spring, it's only going to move this much. And if I put 10 springs, it's going to move a lot more distance down. So that's sort of saying somehow that there's more distance in it. But again, the argument is gravity's about time, not distance. And again, how can it add up to more than 10? Each coil is a tension. How can it collect more than 10 pounds of tension in the coils? The coils are the place where the tension is. And how can it collect more than 10? If it's only 10 pounds on it, there can only be 10 pounds worth of coil compression. I mean, that is, you know, to me, what you're saying is impossible. You know, so you can say it doesn't make sense to you. What you're saying to me doesn't make sense at all. I mean, how can you possibly increase the amount that 10 pounds weighs? You can't make 10 pounds weigh 100 pounds. You can't make 10 pounds weigh 11 pounds. So, fuck you. Yeah. All right. That's probably enough. All right. So maybe I'll call that a video. I don't think there's anything else at the moment. So yeah, I'll pause and check and see if there's anything new. All right, back on such. What am I going to do here? Get rid of that. And let's see, I think I have one more little clip to play. And such. All right, sorry, interruption. Yeah, so back where was I? Yeah, got it. So I think there's one more clip here I have to. So unfortunately, yeah, I don't know what happened to the stream why it stopped, but it did. And it hasn't done that before, so I guess I don't have much right to complain too much. because it hasn't done that before. So I got another 8 minutes or so of some stuff I did earlier. So we'll play that and such. It has, they sent me an email yesterday, I think, congratulating me on creating my subreddit, my room, right? So the room that's blocked. And now they sent me this email congratulating me. They never sent me this originally when I made the room. So this must just be a very delayed or something. So it says something about a posting streak and some sort of shit. And you made 24 this week. I don't even know what that means. I made some poofy white thing happy. But it's just so bizarre, that they'd send this email to a blocked account for a blocked room. Yeah. Okay. Just saying. It's just why a week. This is like a week later, right? I mean, it's been a week since I was banned, and so a week later, they're sending me spam, emails, letting me know what my room is doing that they've banned. I mean, it's just yeah, it's just pretty poor performance, frankly. It's just so. I mean, it's just kind of insult to injury kind of thing, in the sense that they block you for no reason. They do all this sloppy shit, and then they allow other patrons of their their forum to commit all kinds of violations. And it's just so obviously not even trying to establish some fair platform. And I think that's just legal jeopardy, frankly. So we'll find out. Apparently they're not going to do anything. So we'll see. If nothing happens in 2 or 3 weeks, then I'll file the lawsuit. But anyway, continuing and such. Just saying, just really strange. Alright, so we do have a new comment, it would appear, on what I think is a really important subject, so I hope somebody else will try to comment on it. Because, this free momentum subject is really interesting, how people actually believe this is possible. And these are such... I mean, I guess I could just say to whoever the guy is, whatever this is, this picture of some guy, what's the fucking point of this? So I don't see any new comment here. So it's just a picture of some jackass, so they ought to just block that. It doesn't mean anything, and I don't even know what this is. So the note at the bottom read like manifesto. Ha 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 ha. Yes, the note at the bottom is pointing out how Reddit is duplicitous and hypocritical and evil and all that shit. I mean, they claim they're the heart of the internet, and why should the heart of the internet be allowed to discriminate and tell some people they can't talk and other people can talk, and they commit the same. All right, so the video is frozen, but you should be able to hear me. So do you hear me? I mean, you're saying the video is frozen. Well, my voice shouldn't be frozen. I can always remove the video. You see, I'm talking. Can you hear me? Yeah. So I don't know what the hell you're talking about, actually. But whatever. Doesn't matter. Yeah, okay. I'm just saying. Yeah, so I don't know. I was talking. The video was frozen. Yes, it was just a video. I was talking over the video. So I guess you're not getting it. I'm playing a video I did earlier today. And then I'm interjecting now and then as a live person. You see. Yeah, so don't mean to confuse you. So back to the video. They have the same appreciation for the rules, let's just say, or even different ones. And they ban the person who obeys the rules, and they let the person who doesn't run free. I mean, that kind of crap shouldn't be allowed. That's a rule violation. Let's just say that's the rule, is the Constitution, the ideal of free speech, and clearly Reddit's violating that rule. So anyway, that was a waste of time. Yeah, I don't know why it says 3. There's no 3 there. All right, 25. It's probably only one extra comment, but all right, maybe I'll pause until I can find it. But it always takes a little while to find it. I guess it's this playful dinner guy. The way he changed his icon or something. It doesn't look the same. It looks like a piece of shit. So I guess that's closer to the reality. But what is even this crap? All you can do is attack the messenger, so that's what he's responding to, the messenger. Now you're telling us you think Gary is Jesus. So, what's the point? I mean, this isn't that complicated. They're physics arguments spelled out in a single paragraph. Your obligation is to somehow point out where there's something in those paragraphs, phrases or sentences that you can debunk or respond to in some sort of relevant way. And this is the best a physicist can do. So see, what I see is that you contest Dr. Rousseau, so that's all kind of bullshit. Suspicions that you were Gary, but you don't. This whole thing of him living in this fake, projecting this fake identity of being some other person. Anyway, but you didn't contest mine that you are Gary's boyfriend. So this is important. And tranny Amanda. So why, this is also a kind of doxing. Why does he bring up these other people that don't have anything to do with this physics subject? I mean, it's just, this is their desperation. I'm just saying it makes it pretty clear that they can't make an argument because they can't stay anywhere near. They can't stay anywhere near the subject. I mean, this is embarrassingly pitiful that they can't respond to these physics arguments in any relevant way. Really, nothing. So I don't think there's anything else I can find here. I think we're done. Let's see if there's any more. I haven't clicked this one, whatever this is. Let's see. Post on 4chan or Psy, whatever that is. What is Psy? Fuck you. You go post on those places. Why the hell do I have to? Frankly. Do you have any evidence I did anything to violate the rules by asking these questions and responding to comments? Do you have any evidence whatsoever that I did anything to deserve being banned for life? And the fact is, no, you don't have any evidence. Right, there really isn't anything else here. So much for, I mean, these people are just so irrelevant. The guy posts a link to the big experiment by Dispar, and the best they can do to verify that is to talk about some completely irrelevant mush and to dox me. So that's the best they can do. All right, so that was a waste of time. Sorry. I thought there was I thought there would be an actual new comment somewhere on the subject, but no, can't expect that from physicists. Right, so another perfect example shows up of, this isn't that demanding. Okay, so this guy calls himself Physicist Andy, so I suppose he's a physicist. And instead of making a physics argument and somehow pointing out how anything I said in the paragraph was wrong, he just says this kind of shit. History has never heard of Boomer having midlife crisis and screaming at the sky. So this is some sort of, what? What is this mush? Okay, about how he is the only stable genius in the world. I don't even know what is the difference between a stable one and an unstable one anyway. But again, so your counter argument is that I must be wrong because I can't be a genius because I can't be right because you say so. Oh, okay, we got it. Yeah, you're the idiot here. You're just demonstrating you can't do better than this. It's a simple paragraph describing a physics concept, and you can't provide any kind of rational response. All right, anyway, the only difference here is that we get to watch him get banned. Right, for what? So isn't this the funny part? To get banned from every public forum possible. So I'm going to take a screenshot of that, okay, if you don't mind. Because when I go to court, this is what I'm going to show the judge. When I say, see, they're acknowledging it. That's what they want. They want nobody to be able to talk except for them. And that's what all of these fucking groupthink organizations are. So this is like saying, oh, well, the cafeteria or the diner didn't tell you there's no black people allowed. No, it was just the group of people inside the diner got to tell you can't come in. And what's the difference? There is no difference. Okay, so if you're going to allow the mob to say nobody else can have access to an audience because they're going to ban you for nothing, that's okay with them. So this is a physicist who's justifying censoring people who wish to challenge physics. So if you want to challenge physics, they don't want to respond to you. They want to censor you. And that's his overt statement. So, well, good. You outed yourself, physicist Andy. We get it. Okay, you think it's funny, okay, that anybody who says anything arguing against your silly physics and the fact that there's no evidence for your silly physics and your silly religion, you'll ban them, okay, and deny them free speech rights. Okay, we got it. Yeah, thanks. Thanks for verifying your agenda. Okay. Pathetic. All right, I think that's it. Yep. So nothing else new. So till later and such then. All right, that should be that for the pre-recorded stuff and such. Come on, close. Now, see if I can find anything, new, which I probably can't find. What I can find, yeah, I did look for some other physics topics on kinetic energy, and there are responses that are pretty funny and stupid, so it might be worth doing some of that. Or, part of me just wants to let's just re-emphasize again that the one I want them, the newest post that has no relevant commentary. I mean, they haven't produced a single relevant comment on the subject of the free momentum argument. And it's just, it's just kind of glaring. I mean, this is kind of a big deal. You have a physics that says basically you can make free momentum, and they won't produce anything, in terms of an argument defending this silly, frankly, claim. So yeah, maybe I'll put that up. And so I have to go here. And I have to, change that. And I have to go here. And then I have to go here. And then I should be, which one is it? Is it this one? I don't know. I guess we'll find out. Yeah, which one it is. Let's see. Can I scroll this one? Yes. Okay, so there's the scroll. All right, so I can move it over. Whoa, what the fuck happened? Or I didn't do that. Well, maybe I did. Yeah, maybe I did do that. Okay. It's not what was supposed to happen. I don't know why they have that image thing. They ought to have that disabled. Where the image opens in a new tab. I mean, that's just kind of a pointless thing to have happen. So I don't know. No, it's got a lot of defects. I mean, this software, frankly, is kind of shit. All right. So that's just basically the drawing I just had up. But just it needs to be emphasized. I mean, this is this idea that you could just swing a pendulum in, it'll bounce back with 99% of the energy. So you're getting 99% of the energy exactly back to where it was before. All right, so it's all back. It's 100% of your potential is back. You can do exactly the same thing, hit with it, almost exactly the same thing. Again, it's just 99%. You're losing a little tiny bit each whack, 1% each time it hits, 1%, 1%, 1%. So you're not losing much. And it just keeps hitting, and every time it hits, the argument is it's pushing energy in, so it's knocking the pins down. So it's like saying somehow I could knock 10 pins down, get a full reflection, knock 10 pins down, get a full reflection, knock 10 pins down, get a full reflection, knock 10, That's their physics. That's what they claim is true, and I'm just saying, shouldn't somebody just point out that's really silly? So anyway, I'm just going to read this again, just because it's, I'm disappointed that no one's commented. I'm disappointed that you can't force them to comment. That somehow they don't feel any obligation to account for this wacky theory. All right, so anyway, so one of the silliest free energy nut theories in the core of conventional physics. Conventional physics says you can take a small hard object, hit a large hard object, and push that large object with 200% of the momentum the small object had, and you will get all of the original momentum back as a reflection. So I should say 99%, but whatever. And just understand, this happens whether the thing visibly moves or not. So if it visibly moves, they still say it's true. But it has to be like 30 times heavier. So if I have a 1 ounce thing, I have to have a 30 ounce object it's bouncing off of. And I'll be able to see it visually move, but it's not going to visually move with twice the momentum. Do you actually believe that it will visually move with twice the momentum? Do you? And I'll get 100% back. So now I'll have 300 momentums in the environment. And it'll keep happening. So it'll hit it again and make it go even a little bit faster. And hit it again, make it go even a little faster. So even though it's going to go incredibly slow, because it's a huge mass compared to a small mass, so it's going to go slow, it can keep hitting it until it gets too far away to hit again. But the whole idea that you can make free momentum, how can you people defend this? Anyway, and you get all the original momentum back as a reflection. So how can you people think a reflection can do both things? Well, this is actually an interesting subject, because this goes all the way to a radiometer. Okay, so maybe I'll take this as an opportunity to talk about radiometers. All right, visualize a pendulum with a small steel ball as a bob. You swing it into the large steel object with a hardened surface. The small steel ball bounces back with 99% of its original momentum, and science claims the large steel object absorbed 200%. I mean, it's an amazing statement. It's somehow, the very fact that you could give 100% is ludicrous and get 100% back. That's like having a Newton's cradle where it bounces off and the other object goes too. So I swing one object in and they both fly out. You're not going to see a Newton's cradle do that. You can't do that. And that's just 100%. They're saying 200%, that the one going this way will go up twice as far. I mean, it's so silly. All right, of that momentum. The small bob will bounce off the surface hundreds of times, each time depositing 200% of its momentum. So again, how can you believe this could happen? In the end, the large object might end up possessing 20 or 30 times the original momentum of the small bob. So 20 or 30 times the momentum, free momentum. Free momentum is free energy. This claim of physics is paradoxical, ridiculous, and is demonstrated by no credible evidence. So obviously there's no evidence showing this shit, but it's a claim they make. And again, you can't make this argument without them blocking you so far. But we'll see. We'll see what happens now. But what we have seen is no response to it. So that's just clear. They can't respond to the simple challenge to provide me with some kind of reasoning that makes this make sense. And they won't provide that reasoning. All right, so I will provide some reasoning on a related subject. So I was thinking, the radiometer's always been a little bit curious. I mean, you think about it and you say, gee, that doesn't make much sense, blah, 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 blah. So it's the little stupid thing that spins in a photon environment, but it only does it in certain photon environments. You have to do certain specific things to make it spin, like hit it with a laser beam, frankly. And theoretically, it's supposed to, spin without that kind of thing. All right, so the idea is you have two surfaces, a white surface, a silver surface, and a dark surface. And this is just going to spin on a little perfect crystal axle, okay, and and then it's in a vacuum, okay. And so the trick is they found that a perfect vacuum, it doesn't spin at all, but it will spin in a dirty vacuum. So a vacuum that has some molecules in it, it will actually work. So that's the funny part. And so it's very complicated why it works in that environment. It has to do with heat and all this other stuff. But the thing you can understand is the reflective surface, and then you have what they call an absorptive surface, right? This is the A and the R, you could say, okay. So you have a reflective surface, and then you have an absorptive surface, and you're saying, well, the surface that's absorbing energy, well, that one should move because it absorbed the energy, right? But the catch is, you can understand the catch, is that both surfaces are reflecting. Just like right now, I'm reflecting. The idea is I'm supposed to be absorbing photons, but am I really? Because I'm constantly radiating them back to the environment. So I'm radiating some of them in the visible spectrum, and I'm radiating others in the invisible spectrum. So the very fact that, I might put in a visible photon, and I'm getting back out, a less visible photon. So, but it's still a photon, right? So you can understand that these things are at temperature equilibriums in a sense. This one is going to reflect the photons as actual visual photons. This one's going to reflect them as infrared or some other form. They're not going to be in the same visible spectrum because they were in fact absorbed for a moment, but then a few seconds later they were re-emitted, or a few microseconds even, as heat, as infrared. So all you did was change the frequency of the photons. So the point is this is really good for my side, for the arguments I've been making about how photons are constructed. And the fact is that the ultraviolet photons are not more energy, okay, because it's just a number of impacts at the speed of light. So it doesn't produce anything more than that, and you can reduce it to some other form that'll just be, wider separations between the little bits, but it's the same number of baseballs. So you're just arguing that baseballs 1, 2, 3 really close to each other goes in, and then baseballs 1, 2, 3 further apart comes out. But that's the only difference. And so to the thing that's going to absorb the energy, something measuring, how much force is coming out of this side versus how much force is coming out of that side, it's the same number of baseballs. So you might be able to bloody somebody's nose, okay, with the quicker baseballs, okay, but it won't make a difference in terms of the total momentum you're hitting the object with. The total momentum you're hitting it with is the same. So that's why this doesn't spin in a vacuum. It's because this side never really did absorb anything. It just reflected at a different frequency. It is at equilibrium. It's at the same equilibrium with the world as this side. Neither side is absorbing any energy. You could almost argue that this side is also absorbing, okay, and then it's just re-emitting. And it's doing it without changing the frequency. This side traps the energy, right? So that we know the black side, if I want to make something black, I can make it black by creating a really weird environment, a bunch of spikes in the environment, because now all the photons get trapped in here, okay? They go in here and bounce around, and that's how you can make something black, is to increase the surface area. But technically all that doesn't mean that the energy keeps going this way. It means that it ends up going sideways, all lots of different ways. So you're really just turning it back into molecular motion, and the molecular motion is just going to make photons, but you're just going to be moving electrons on the surface. The electrons deep inside the metal aren't going to be moving. Just the ones on the surface are going to be jiggling. So it's exactly the same as the reflective side, and that all you've done is disturbed the surface electrons. You haven't disturbed the electrons deep inside the metal, and that's why it doesn't spin. So anyway, just a bonus physics lesson for you. Yeah, okay. I wish this subject got better attention. I mean, the comments on this subject are just so poor, so pitiful, such a demonstration of how lame these bastards are, in terms of being able to pay attention to a physics argument. So, can't even show you any comments here because there's nothing. This is the place where there was the picture of a guy that didn't mean anything, and then these silly one-sentence piles of crap from this cardiographer shit for brain, smelly butt. Just silly. Gary needs to start at the fundamentals of vetting his theory at the bus stop with hobos. So I could just tell a story about, how you need, to get your anus stitched up because you have a leaky anus and you smell like ass. What's the point of me giving you advice about how to, fix yourself, retard? It's just such bullshit before he makes the prestige of hypothetical physics. So again, a place where they say, yes, go ahead, ask us something hypothetical, like a possibility, and we'll talk about it. And I got banned from there. You can't ask this question there. And he finds that something admirable, that they won't allow you to ask this question. How is this hypothetically reasonable, this idea of making free momentum? How does it make sense to you people that you can make free momentum? You can increase the momentum in a system without adding any energy. How can you do that? How can you defend that as a possibility? How can the energy be absorbed and reflected? How can it be both? Yeah, there won't be any answer to the question, of course. But how can we get them to answer these questions? I mean, that's the thing. They constantly just change the subject and run from the questions. So it does make this all very frustrating, but you really can't get them to stay on the subject. All right, so I have some of this other stuff already loaded here, right? Let's see. Don't levers violate conservation of energy? So that seems pretty. So no stupid questions. So there's apparently a Reddit where there's no stupid questions, but apparently they'll probably block you there too, right? yeah, right. So the energy category was useless. This is all about solar energy and shit. So it's not really a physics topic. So that's disappointing. But anyway, so let's go there. All right, and he said, don't levers violate conservation of energy? And then it says answered. I wonder who answered it. Like my weight is 150 pounds and a car weighs at least 4,000 pounds. No matter the length of the bar between us, I'm imparting less energy than it takes to lift the car. Where is the energy coming from? So again, it's really just not true. I mean, all you're doing is changing the momentum. You're converting MVs. You're taking a big mass and a small v, and you're converting it into a big V and a small mass. And that's it. And it always works. You can do that. All right. Let's see. That's a commercial. Can you see any of this shit? Let's see if you can see this shit. Yeah, you can see it. Pretty good, I think. Let's see. I don't know if we need me back in the camera view, but let's see. Well, I might fit. Not quite. Okay, so I'll make this a little smaller. Alright, something like that should work. Yeah, just about. Alright, so let's see what some of this stuff says. Well, let's see if there's any commenters. Nope. Okay, yeah, so let's see if we're still live. Yeah, I better check. It crashed the last time. I don't know why. Okay, yeah, I'm still here, right? 0? 0 viewers? 0? Alright, something must have gone wrong. It says the signal is excellent. I mean, 0. Just, I don't think 0 has ever happened before. But 0. That's just, what the fuck? Alright, well, maybe I'm wasting my time. So maybe I'll turn this off and see if there's any, maybe you can't hear me or something. I don't know. 0. Okay. We'll just figure something's wrong. And so we'll try again some other time and such. So I haven't seen 0 before. Alright. So, stop streaming. Yeah. 0. Amazing.